We begin in Beijing, where Germany's finance minister and China's vice premier have agreed to strengthen economic ties and ease trade tensions that have been growing in recent months. The world's second and third largest economies have found themselves increasingly at loggerheads, even as many of Germany's car makers and big industrial companies rely more heavily on China for their profits. But Berlin is increasingly worried. It says Chinese firms benefit from heavy state support and can undercut German companies, while Beijing tightens its own export controls. Here's a little of what Lars Klingbeil had to say after meeting China's Vice Premier Lifeng.
I received assurances from the Chinese side that German and European concerns about export restrictions on rare earths and critical raw materials are being taken seriously, and that we want to find joint solutions that ensure reliable access and reliable supply chains. We also discussed overcapacity in key sectors such as steel, solar energy and electric mobility.
We hope that German side can leverage the influence and leading role as the core members of the European Union to push China and the EU to move towards the same direction so as to properly resolve economic and trade frictions through dialogue, build an open and cooperative international economic environment and jointly resist unilateral bullying.
Well, joining us now, Jurgen Matthes, who is Head of International Economic Policy at the German Economic Institute, which is a research organisation financed by trade associations and companies. Very good to have you with us. How much do you think the strains between the two are damaging Germany's economy, and what can they actually do given the pressure that China's own economy faces?
Well, for Germany, we have few threats, some homemade here, high energy costs, high labor costs, high bureaucracy, but China, or the problems with China make these even worse. And the main problems with China are these rare earth restrictions that damaged the German economy. And before all, it's Chinese unfair competitive distortions due to subsidies, and also due to an undervalued yuan, an undervalued Chinese currency against the euro.
You mention, I suppose, almost in passing, the rare earth metals. Just give us a sense of how significant, how widespread the impact of those export controls are.
Well, unfortunately, we don't exactly know, because we hear a lot of media reports and we hear about some short-time work schemes in certain companies and some threats of production stops, but there have been no overall numbers about the impact on the total economy. But as we had to realize, even though we have been talking about the monopoly China has gained, and we had let it gain over time, and about the geopolitical tensions that have been rising, but still we have had many firms that were complaining that they ran out of their storage of rare earths pretty in short time, even though they should have taken more precautions. So we are still in the process of de-risking, and it doesn't really work.
And how much does the US trade policy feed into this? Do you think it's pushing Germany and China together?
Well, we've just today published a study that shows that high US tariffs on Chinese imports reduced these imports to the US, and some of these have been deviated to Germany. So we have seen a big rise in Chinese imports in the second quarter of this year, which we focused on. This was the time when tariffs on US tariffs on China were 145% for 4-6 weeks. And this is one thing. The other thing is that well, we hear in German businesses the voice, well, let's move closer to China as Trump pushes us away. But this is not the way to go in our view. We should not let ourselves be pushed by Trump into the arms of China, because we have more problems with China than with the US.
Okay, Jürgen Matthes from the German Economic Institute, thank you.